When the little boy opened his mouth, a swarm of bees flew out of it. The people around seemed accustomed to this sight. The boy calmly took out a net hat and put it on his head, then took a deep breath. The bees were sucked back into his mouth. However, his dinner companions were no ordinary people either. Each of them had their own abilities. Little Loli had a toothache today, but she still picked up a large chicken leg, flipped her hair open, and extended the chicken leg towards the back of her head. In a matter of seconds, the chicken leg was not clean. Here, there's the fire girl, who can heat water to boiling with her hand's temperature, the nature girl who can accelerate plant growth, and the wind girl who, lighter than air, wears hundreds of pounds of iron shoes to stay grounded. They were all friends Jack had just met. A few days ago, Jack's grandfather met with a sudden accident. When Jack found him in a small grove, his grandfather was barely alive, his eyes gouged out. With his last breath, his grandfather gave Jack an address and then passed away. To uncover the cause of his grandfather's death, Jack followed the address to a small island where he discovered an abandoned castle. With curiosity in his heart and courage in his stride, he ventured inside. Upon waking again, Jack found himself being watched by familiar faces, those from bedtime stories his grandfather had told him. Led by a few individuals, Jack entered a cave where a temporal barrier was set. Emerging from it, they found themselves in the year 1943, greeted by Miss Pei, the creator of the barrier. Here, Jack met many extraordinary children, living carefree under Miss Pei's protection. The girl glanced at her watch and reached out to catch a squirrel. Her daily task was to help this little squirrel return home safely. She asked Jack to help tie her with a rope, then took off her metal shoes that weighed hundreds of pounds. As soon as she did, she floated up into the air. In this way, she successfully brought the little squirrel back to its nest. Miss Pei then demonstrated her special ability. Everyone put on masks, bracing themselves for a terrifying moment. Moments later, several fighter jets flew over, dropping bombs from their bays onto the castle ahead. At the critical moment, Miss Pei stopped the clock, and the bombs and raindrops frownzy in midair. She then reversed time, causing the raindrops and bombs to return to their original positions. In no time, time had reversed back to 9:05 a.m. It turned out that Miss Pei was a time bird with the ability to control time. The time loop she created could protect everyone here, allowing them to safely live on September 3rd, 1943. However, the good times did not last long. An extraordinary individual named Baron, tired of the time loop, sought to gain immortality in the real world. He thus rallied everyone to conduct a dreadful experiment. Baron's followers captured the time bird and locked it in an iron cage, intending to extract its power to achieve immortality. But no one anticipated that not only did their dream fail to come true, but they also turned into hideous and transparent monsters.
Curious, especially children. Began to change.
Not long after, Baron discovered that by consuming the eyes of other extraordinary individuals, especially those of children, they could transform back into normal humans. From then on, time loops around the world were ravaged, and many innocent extraordinary individuals lost their lives. Jack's grandfather was also persecuted as a result. Upon learning that this disaster was about to befall Miss Pei, Jack felt very scared. As an ordinary person, he had no ability to fight against the extraordinary individuals, so he left the time loop and returned to the real world. But just after crossing back, he encountered a horrific incident where an innocent man was brutally murdered and had his eyes gouged out by the perpetrator. Jack realized that the extraordinary individuals were close by, and he needed to return immediately to warn Miss Pei. What he didn't know was that this was Baron's trap. Baron followed him and found the entrance to the time loop. Baron captured Jack and used him as a hostage to threaten Miss Pei. Miss Pei had no choice but to reveal her true form to save Jack. In this critical moment, Miss Pei entrusted Jack with the responsibility of protecting the children. It was then that Jack realized he was also an extraordinary individual. His extraordinary ability lay in his eyes. He was the only human who could see the true forms of the monsters. After Miss Pei was captured, Baron's henchmen quickly invaded the castle. The immensely powerful monsters burst through the doors and grabbed the other extraordinary individuals. Jack saw them grabbing another boy, and in order to save him, Jack picked up a sword from the ground and successfully rescued the boy at the right moment. However, the monster only suffered minor injuries and soon forced Jack and the others to the rooftop. Luckily, one of the children had the ability to accelerate plant growth. she made a nearby tree grow thicker and larger, allowing everyone to escape up into the tree. As midnight approached, the time for the aircraft to bomb the castle drew near. Jack seized this opportunity to destroy the monsters, but in doing so, he broke Miss Pei's time loop. These children with special abilities had lost their home. Outside the time loop, they would age rapidly. The only solution was to rescue Miss Pei quickly and rebuild a new time loop. The question remained, how would they leave the island? The children with special abilities needed to unite to save Miss Pei. The girl dived underwater and blew forcefully towards the sunken ship. Miraculously, the 100-ton iron ship rose from the seabed. As air entered the hull, the other children with special abilities joined in. The immensely strong girl began steering the ship, while the girl with control over fire ignited a blazing flame in the furnace that had been dormant for a century. The ship, dormant for 100 years, saw daylight once more. Now, they needed to move at full speed towards the nearest time loop and rescue Miss Pei, who could manipulate time from the clutches of the monsters. When the ship arrived, they quickly identified the territory where the monsters were active. The children intentionally provoked them and lured the monsters to the pier where the ship was docked. At that moment, special individuals inside the ship controlled a skeleton army, ready to confront the monsters. As the monsters reached the pier, Jack gave the command. Other children who were lying in ambush threw snowballs and colorful objects into the air. The transparent monsters became visible, sparking the skeleton army to charge out. The once quiet pier immediately turned into a fiery battlefield. Under the control of the extraordinary individuals, the skeleton army turned the tide against the monsters one by one. After dealing with the last monster, they turned to confront each other. In a showdown among the extraordinary individuals, the children each showcased their strengths, facing off against the malevolent extraordinary individuals. At this moment, Jack entered the room where the time birds were held captive. To his surprise, besides Miss Pei, other time birds from different places were also captured. Baron then burst in, but Jack managed to open the cages and release Miss Pei and the other time birds. Seeing this, Baron became furious and prepared to deal with Jack once and for all. Just then, other extraordinary individuals arrived, and Baron realized he was outnumbered. In desperation, he transformed into Jack's likeness, confusing the others. At this critical moment, a monster emerged, and Jack's unique advantage became apparent. He was the only one who could see the monsters. In a dramatic turn of events, the monster mistook the disguised Baron for Jack and fatally attacked him, even gouging out his eyes. Jack swiftly seized the opportunity and with a crossbow, dealt a fatal blow to the monster. With that, all the monsters were eliminated. Miss Pei then established a new time loop aboard the ship. All the extraordinary individuals who had lost their homes could now travel across the seas and live safely and happily in the year 1943.